Good morning, and a warm greeting from Antonio Carbonelli, Brescia, Italy. Last month, we dismantled Samuelson on stagflation. Today, let's dismantle Krugman on international trade. Paul Krugman, US-born in 1953, Nobel laureate 2008, is a genius of international monetary economics, and is awarded the Nobel Prize at the age of only 55 for his studies on the effects of change in exchange rates in the internal economies of individual countries. Krugman also investigates the causes of the crisis that explodes in 2008, and he speaks openly against the bad faith of economists who support 1%. However, on international trade, he reproposes the fairy tale of comparative advantage. As I show in my book, Rethinking Economics, Krugman, in his basic textbooks on economics, in Chapter 2, immediately inculcates the principle of comparative advantage in international trade. In Chapter 18, the last one of the handbooks, Krugman then reiterates such a concept, an excellent brainwashing technique to fix it well into students' minds. Usually, economists complain that they cannot explain such a theory in the uninitiated into the mysteries of economics. However, the so-called comparative advantage theory, which sends certain economists into ecstasy, is very simple. It's enough to point out that a professional woman should have a maid do the cleaning of the house, even at the cost of paying for her, so that she can use her time more profitably elsewhere. However, there is another side as well. If we look at it from the side of the maid, if she's only a maid and has better potential, she hasn't the chance to put it to good use. And so, in the international trade, the backward countries are condemned to remain behind and to act as a maid. This is the so-called comparative advantage theory. So, we must ask ourselves some brazen questions. First, in the history of economic thought, who supported first the theory of comparative advantage? Very simple. English economists in the 19th century, when the UK dominated the international economy. Second, when do British economists stop supporting such a theory? Very simple. After England, with the two world wars, lost its dominance in international trade. That is, when it no longer suits the English economy. Third, and even more brazen question, who is it at that point that supports such a theory? This too is very simple. The economists of the US, starting with the first edition of Samuelson textbook in 1948. These are formidable historical examples of intellectual double standards. And it doesn't end there. Turning to Krugman, in 2012, in his End This Repression Now, chapter 12, he says that there are also other fronts on which politics and should act, primarily foreign trade. It is time to take a hard line against China and other currency manipulators, even with sanctions. Surprise! When it comes to China, Krugman too no longer invokes the fairy tale of free trade. On international trade, he reproposes the fairy tale of comparative advantage in his basic textbooks on economics, but he has the nerve not to apply it also to China. And who knows if in the future economists from other countries, say from China, will exalt free trade, telling us that they draw it from Confucius' teachings. Well, in these YouTube videos, we dismantle microeconomics on the origin of profits, macroeconomics on the origin of the crisis, economic history on world supremacy, Piketty on taxation, Samuelson on stagflation, and Krugman on international trade. Next month, let's see something about the relation between economics and mathematics. Meanwhile, thank you for listening and goodbye.